Hello, 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 hello. A long time no see. How you doing, everyone? I'm sorry for not uploading for such a long time. Do you think I'm actually apologizing? Screw you guys. None of you watched my previous video. If you are in the majority of people who didn't and will watch it after this, I have to give out the fair warning. I do sound a bit like a incoherent retard in the first half, but my speech gets a lot better in the second half. No. In this video, however, I'm going to lay out the story of Final Fantasy VII Remake and after discuss my experience with the game. Okay, since there is apparently a huge divide in the Final Fantasy VII community, maybe this video will be able to shine a new light on the perspectives of the people that are big fans of the original, who are of the opinion that this title didn't live up to the old game where the story is concerned. I'm gonna go on an attempt here to explain my points without coming across too aggressive and stubborn, but also understanding and laying out the reasons of this fan base. For the people who played this remake and think this is one of the best games ever made, or even just a great game in general, I think you're awesome, okay? I really do, unironically. Please, under any circumstance, do not let my opinion or the people who disagree with you detract even for a bit from the experience that you had with this game. At the end of the day, to have a great time is the sole purpose of why video games were created. By the same terms, however, the fans that disagree with you are also allowed to have an opinion, if they do it in a reasonable and civilized manner, without their voice being silenced by the other groups. I think it's really sad to see people self-censoring and tiptoeing with what they have to say because of any backlash they might receive in return. I'm looking at you, Reddit. I would rather everyone be kinder to each other. I find it much better insulting the mother or the ancestors of the people who disagrees with you. This way you don't attack the person directly and everyone will be able to get along just fine. Hopefully what I'll be talking about might help everyone come out from this video with a different or a better view on this situation and how we got here. Just a quick reminder that I will lay out the story first and then talk about my experience with the whole game. And with all of that out of the way, let's begin. Disclaimer.
I swear by the almighty Jehovah that everything in this video is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Everyone who says otherwise is a dishonest, conniving, sheer conspirator and is not to be taken seriously.
You start off the game in Midgard. No, not the one from Lord of the Rings. There, though, it is mostly referred to as Middle-earth, which is actually a whole ass continent. But the original word has its roots in the Norse mythology, and over there it was an entire bloody realm. In this game, however, Midgard is the most technologically advanced city on the planet. It's a large metal pancake built by the Shinra Electric Company. Evil company. And it is supported by 8 reactors which extracts Mako energy from the planet in order to power up everything, but they also divide the city into sectors, plus the main pillar where the HQ of Shinra is situated. On top of the pancake is where the high society runs the city, and below of it are the slums where the peasants who cannot afford to survive on top live. Your team is comprised by a group of hippies that hired the wannabe mercenary who lied on his CV about working among the top of the top in the army as a warrior because he was in a desperate need for money in order to fund his dream job of becoming a pimp. He realized as a kid that God blessed him with such great genetics that turned him into such a phenomena, to the point that he could change the sexual polarity of even some straight dudes if they got too close to him. A fact that would be such a shame not to take advantage of, especially in this economy. In a twist of karmic fate, however, after Cloud meets Sephiroth and realizes that he is blessed with even superior genetics than him, something he thought was absolutely impossible. But this fact is starting to impact his mind to the point that it drives Cloud to have erotic dream walks about Sephiroth. The rest of the party consists of Barrett, which the game doesn't really mention much, except that one time he almost overdosed on high potency mushrooms, which almost fried his brain out. And during that experience, he hallucinated so badly that the Shinra company is posing such a great danger to the planet by sucking up its Mako energy that he even manages to convince the others to bomb the reactors in order to stop it.
Mako is the lifeblood of our world. The planet bleeds green like you and me bleed red. The hell you think's gonna happen when it's all gone, huh? Answer me! You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the planet crying out in pain? I know you can!
You really hear that?
Damn straight I do!
Get help.
The fact that some of their weed also stopped growing also further strengthened their conviction in assembling this group to take such severe actions against Shinra.
Wait, you think someone's out to get you? Is that what you're all worked up about? Relax. No one's going to attack you. I promise.
You shouldn't be out here trying to sell.
Help me!
Damn. Has Barrett slipped some of his stash of psychedelics to the others?
Got a question for you all.
What?
Ever been attacked by an invisible enemy?
What?
Wearing robes. Came and went like the wind.
Thought they were invisible.
A new Shinra weapon, maybe?
More like a panic-induced hallucination.
He will know. After the team managed to bomb the first reactor, they returned to one of the slum sectors that the poor peasants live. More exactly to a board called the Seventh Heaven, the disguised home base for Avalanche, so the team can carefully plan the attack on the next reactor. Once the party gets there, Cloud meets up with his childhood friend Tifa, which helps him figure out how he's supposed to get around people by completing tasks for them. Cloud being so socially retarded that he can't figure out on his own the basics of how human society works.
Well, you could try being a little nicer.
To get free shit? Not my style.
Our next stop is Stargazer Heights. Landlady's a client.
Just met her.
Then you know what to expect. Remember, she's a good friend of Avalanche, so be nice. Please?
Which in all honesty was the most immersive thing in the whole game for me. Very relatable. Here is also where you meet the biggest cult in the whole Final Fantasy franchise, which wasn't present in the original.
You were the first to gather the data I requested. Here is the rest of your payment. I have developed new materia. Would you like to see it? I plan to develop more materia in the future. Together, we can harness enough power to take down Shinra. I'll keep preparing more battle intel reports, which I hope you will assist me in completing.
You're one of the worst things I've ever encountered in gaming. I have to listen to you over and over again. I don't know how this could ever happen. Not gonna lie, the side quests and the stuff you have to do here in order to progress with the main story are quite underwhelming, but what makes the whole experience poo-poo is that the characters, the writing and immersions are downright boring.
They ass. And small spaces. Oh yeah, and they're all cats.
I'm looking for cats.
This was also a bit on me since I had to do every single side quest in this game in order to get the platinum. After this, Jessie is asking Cloud to help her get inside the military base.
Tonight, you and me together. I'll give you the details on the way.
Jessie trolling Cloud was one of the highlights in the game for me.
Well then, you gonna take my breath away? Make my head spin with your amazing skills?
Someone's having fun.
How can I not? Pursued by villains, a young couple
party attempts to get some explosive before the next mission because of the guild that eats at Jessie, thinking she messed up while making the previous bomb due to the explosion and the previous reactor being much bigger than anticipated and thus killing civilians.
Look, you saw the way the reactor went up. It was huge, right? Deep down, I know it was my fault. I used a more powerful blasting agent than the directions called for. I'm planning on using a weaker blasting agent this time. But, since I can't get in touch with my supplier, our only option is to loot a warehouse owned by Shinra.
Firstly, they have to get their hand on her dad's access card from her home in order to get inside the base, because he used to work for Shinra. They sneak out without telling Tifa and Bereth, but Biggs and Wedge find out and join their operation. Eventually, they manage to get what they came for after fighting with one of the most normal and not questionable at all character they put in the game that was not in the original.
You turned the key. The engine roars with excitement. It hungers to be set free! But, for all the miles on the clock, I'm just as fast as I ever was! Feel my burning passion!
Let's do
With such fleeting pleasure? Hardly. There are higher heights to which you and I can still soar.
Cloud is not supposed to come on the next mission. He's actually supposed to leave Avalanche and go on his own. And I guess because of this, some things called the Whisperers come and throw a fit and want to change the actual plot of the original game on the PS1 by injuring Jessie, so Atomic Blonde here can take her place.
How's your ammo?
Running low! Jesse!
Damn it!
And return to being part of the team in order to go on with their next merry adventure in order to blow up the next reactor. When it gets close to the end of this mission, you find out that the team got set up by Shinra's top brass by making the explosions in the first reactor much bigger and thus starting to paint Avalanche's image as a terrorist organization. This also confirms the explosion wasn't Jesse's fault after all. Heidegger does the same thing here, and he himself activates the bombs that is going to collapse the reactor, which leads to Cloud getting separated from the others by falling on a bed of flowers in a church.
You still don't understand your role in this. What did they do? Don't you see? You fools were never in control. Never anything but pawns in our plans to celebrate a glorious war to the people. And your instruments of insurrection will detonate. When we so choose. God damn it!
Reno appears inside the church. He's an agent from a group called the Turks that are assembled by Shinra, which is an organization equivalent to the CIA. Cloud, sensing that he might be another pimp like him recruiting girls, he takes up his sword and starts to clash with his potential competition. However, Reno here gets exhausted quite easily because he's notorious for being a major gooner and loses the fight, unfortunately. I guess the saying, don't get high on your own supply, couldn't be more true here. Maybe that's some cosmic karma for being a degenerate who starts a fight in a church. This event, however, is starting to shake Cloud's way of being a bit, and even contemplates slightly giving up on his dream job of becoming the greatest pimp in existence. One of the ways that this is revealed to us is that he blunders his attempt of trying to recruit Aerith to his pimp ring in a way that almost gives away his true intentions.
Is Tifa like your girlfriend?
No,
But she's someone special.
it's not like that.
This part is easily the best one that is reenacted from the original, in my opinion.
After that, it's back to the Sector 7 slums.
You know how to get there?
Yep.
Of course you do.
That suit from earlier. He was one of Shinra's Turks. What's a Turk want with you?
Dunno. Hey, don't Turks keep an eye out for potential soldiers and stuff?
They do more than just scout for candidates. Turks get called in to handle all kinds of situations, with extreme prejudice.
Professional bad guys. Gotta love them.
Back to my question. So what's he to you? Looked like you knew each other.
Maybe he thought I could be the greatest soldier yet.
Forget it.
You mad?
Aerith is introducing Cloud to everyone, kind of embracing the same role as Tifa in teaching a social retard about how human society functions by completing some tasks in the area. After the small party finished with everything, Reno's partner in the Turks, but also his pansexual husband Rude, shows up here in another attempt to take Aerith, but he also fails miserably. Aerith invites Cloud to spend the night at her mother's house, which prompts Cloud to have a serious change of heart about his pimp dream, or at least where Aerith is concerned, and sneaks off without telling anyone. But Aerith doesn't give up on him yet. Those lucky jeans, man. She helps him get back to the Sector 7 slums. When they are almost there, you find out that Tifa goes undercover as a potential prostitute for Dan Corneo, a boss in another sector, and where you're gonna be heading next. You find out that Tifa does this because a couple of Dan Corneo's grunts went around suspiciously asking about Avalanche. Realizing that Tifa might be way in over her head, and Cloud fearing that he might lose her to another potential pimp, man, talking about pimp paranoia. He and Aerith also try to go undercover as a potential whores. They discover that the only way to do this would be if they get a recommendation from Don Corneo's 3 sub-bosses. In order to do that, they have to, you guessed it, do them some favors. Except for Sam, who gives out the recommendation quite easily to them. For Madam M, the second one of the sub-bosses, you have to fight in the Colosseum so you can pay for Aerith's dress. After Cloud realizes that he cannot let Aerith go undercover by herself, he decides to join her. And the way he accomplishes this is by shaking his booty for Andrea, the last of the 3 sub-bosses.
They know how to move.
Honey, I'm in love. Yes, I will transform you into a vision of beauty. Now, without further ado, let us begin! Perfection. True beauty is an expression of the heart. A thing without shame, to which notions of gender don't apply.
I find this scene to be so awkward and out of place to the point that I asked myself why they even made it. It probably costs around 25% of this game's entire budget, and while I don't think its execution is necessarily terrible, it just doesn't fit in any way, shape or form with the tone and the characters of the original game. With this remake it probably does, but you could say that about anything with this title. To be honest with you, if you were to insert here a Bigfoot chewing on adamantium dildos, I'll probably say, yeah, that checks out. Totally makes sense in this remake. Anyway, they get what they came for and are able to infiltrate Don's mansion. He manages to get them away from him, but not before revealing everything, thinking they will get killed. Mission accomplished, I guess. Now the girls are in the sewers fighting this prick, which you don't even manage to kill because he runs off into the sunset with a tail between his legs and his horns blown up. A lot of people criticize this part because Shinra is trying to frame them again by dropping a whole fucking plate, this time on civilians, and once again blaming it on them. And instead of having the sense of urgency of rushing to inform everyone, the team gets stuck behind trying to appease Casper here. My biggest criticism towards this part, however, is that ghosts. Fucking ghosts. Again, I really have to reiterate that the execution of this is not necessarily done badly. For example, if this would take part in another game that it did not establish its world yet, I would let myself enjoy the ride and see where this leads to. But considering this is Final Fantasy VII we're talking about here, this feels very out of place. You only get an explanation of why they appear, but absolutely none as to how they managed to exist in this damn remake. In this world where you get so much plot and supposed world building by explaining all the scientific progress Shinra has made in building everything from the ground up and how they managed to become such a shameless monopoly, you're just supposed to accept that supernatural shit like this just exists. After fighting the boss of this area, the team finds out there's another one who was the culprit and trapping all the other ghosts. Eventually you get back to the main plot. Aerith rushes to get Marlene out of the sector where the plate will be dropped, and Cloud and Tifa join the others in trying to stop Shinra doing this. Oh my god, did Mussolini and his party, who coined this term, also existed in the Final Fantasy VII universe? I had no idea. Rude and Reno are leading this operation, and even though Cloud and party completely obliterates the insides of their arseholes, they still manage to complete their mission, and unfortunately disaster in Midgard is unavoidable anymore. But not before Aerith manages to get Marlene and then surrenders to the Turks as part of a deal, since this seems to be the best decision in this scenario for both of them to get out unharmed. Because the main characters have to always survive, the first thing they do after they get out of the rubbles is to see if Marlene is safe, and eventually they find her where Aerith said she would be, at her mother's house. After witnessing how far Shinra is able to go in order to achieve what they want, they manage to convince Aerith's mother that her daughter is in grave danger, despite what the Turks keep telling her every time they visit and try to pretend they only want for her to come willingly. Due to these concerns, the team decides to infiltrate Shinra's HQ in order to save Aerith. For this, they need to get their hand on some grappling hooks, and you accomplish that by, you guessed it, completing some tasks in the area. By now, Cloud must have a PhD in social skills, while he still remains socially retarded. I guess this is goodbye immersion. It was good while it lasted. After you get them, the team climbs out of the sector, and the final quarter of the game will begin, leaving the player unable to return back to the slums. Once the party infiltrates the Shinra HQ, you have a choice between the elevator and the stairs and how to reach the upper floors, just like it was in the original, which I have to admit is a really nice throwback. On the way there, you get a really cool cutscene which reveals some backstory on the ancients and how they created materia. After this, you are greeted by the assistant mayor, who instantly knows the party is from Avalanche and for some reason guides them to the mayoral office, where you find out that the mayor of Midgard himself is also part of the resistance group, him being the one who covered their tracks, having access to all of the security in the buildings. He guides you to the person who can upgrade the access card in order to reach the next floor and then go on with your objective. Hojo, the evil maniac scientist, is introduced here when he's interrogating Aerith in order to get more information on her ancestors. When I encountered this scene while playing the game, I found myself sitting there pondering, half empty-minded about the backstory of the ancients and all of this talk about the Promised Land, when it suddenly struck me that Aerith is a Jew! Probably even worse. A lesbian Jew. Bro, you aware that anti-Semitism is on the rise now, and I'm not talking about the crappy conspiracy kind, but the type that promotes real unhinged anti-Semitic violence? At least say the whole damn word, man. Jewy? So many fans have had debates ever since the original game came out about who is the best girl for Cloud, but they completely failed to realize that the reason why Tifa was blessed by the boob gods is because it was all destined for Aerith. They were promised to her 3,000 years ago. Hojo goes on and on about how Aerith's mother was a perfect specimen because she was a full-blown Jew, but her daughter, Aerith, is only half. Man, who the fuck is this guy? Joseph Mengele?
It's hard to be Jewish, it's hard to be Jewish, it's hard to be Jewish in
Midgard.
Yo, it's hard to be Jewish, it's hard to be Jewish, hard to be Jewish in
Midgard.
Yo, bagels and locks, diamond shops, it's hard to be Jewish in
Midgard.
Yo.
Finally, the party manages to free Aerith and another specimen called Red 13 from the clutches of Hojo. Unfortunately, right after, Cloud is experiencing some erotic dreams again. But this time around they are so bad it gets the whole party captured. They wake up in what seems like Aerith and her mother's old prison in the Shinra building. They find out that the other cell of Avalanche has a helicopter, and instead of escaping the building the way they entered it, the plan now is to go even higher up until they reach the rooftop. Cloud's erotic dream seems to get more and more intense the further they go. Gosh, when will these stop? I will take some time to talk about my experience with this game, along with the final part. I first played this game, I believe, a few months after its launch because it was already free on PS Plus, which I thought it was highly suspicious. I did it with the Japanese voice acting, and seeing those characters' body language and making those sounds with their digital buccal cavities is still to this second a very high competitor to taking the crown of the cringiest experiences I ever had with gaming. I quit playing the game midway through because of it. The absolute worst culprit of this was Aerith. The scenes with her almost made me start convulsing to the point where it visibly felt like the clothes almost took on the shape of my shivering skin from cringing so badly, and stopped playing it for like 4 years.
すごいクラウドもしかしてアーム担当だった？はい
上で買い物どう？例えば雰囲気のある小物や食器を探すの。ティファと？よければ
絶対行く
クラウドは荷物持ちいっぱい持たせちゃう。
俺がどうかしたか？
なんでもない。
Because I enjoyed 16 so much, I decided to give it another chance while also being a bit more open-minded. I picked up where I left off and finished it with the Japanese voice acting, and then decided to play the PS5 intermission version, this time with English voices on. To my surprise, among the English voice acting, Aerith turned out to be the complete opposite. I probably enjoyed spending time with her the most. Out of all this cast, I find Tifa's voice actress to be probably the worst, because it feels like she's reciting voice lines from a script, which is kind of what she's actually doing. But what I mean is, there's no emotion when she's talking to that is connected to what her character goes through in the story that you see on the screen.
Alright, I think that might be the last of them.
You won't stay gone for long.
Of course not. Even so, folks will be grateful for the peace and quiet in the meantime. A win's a win, you know?
True.
Trust me, it'll do wonders for your rep. Right, let's go check in with Biggs and Wedge. Since you've got yourself a new weapon, let's see if we can't put it to good use. Come on, let's go chat up Weimer.
Who?
The guy who tracks all the requests that come to the watch. You never know. Could toss some work your way. Okay then. That's another solid gig in the books. You know, the whole town is really impressed with what you've done. Keep it up, and you'll have enough work to keep you fed for a lifetime.
All thanks to you.
And don't you forget it.
So where do we get paid? The shop or something?
Yeah, but why don't we head back to the apartments first? Take a quick breather.
Which lesson was that again?
Lesson 1. Got it? Anyway, let's go.
Barrett's voice actor, I feel like, wasted his opportunity in bringing him to life in a fun, interesting way. Instead, his voice acting ends up being just... eh.
Ha! You hear that? Damn thing showed you how it's done. Looks like we made it. And with nothing but a few scratches to show. Think you might have overdone it? Okay, listen up, y'all. Everything Shinra has told you is a goddamn lie. Mako is the lifeblood of our planet. Those greedy bastards are bleeding it dry. Y'all gotta rise up.
Barrett, who are you talking to?
The people put me on TV. I'm gonna drop some truth. For real though, we need to talk victory poses. Something coordinated for the live on camera finish. Could blow up big, start a new trend.
I didn't find Jessie to be as bad as others say, but I can also see why people like Donkey didn't like her. Her personality and body language, the way she acts in general, is very Japanese, and I think because of the cultural differences, this can come off awkward and a bit off-putting in English. Also, she was an actress. I feel like most of the scenes with her in the game are not to be taken seriously. This awkward dialogue mostly stands out with the girls, Johnny and Roach, but you don't encounter these two too often, and despite of the effort the localization team put into mitigating this, I feel like you can only do so much with what you have, so this particular aspect is understandable and doesn't really bother me that much. Okay, I take that back. My biggest gripe with this game is that it felt like a totally different experience compared to playing the original. As much as I tried, my brain just could not stop completely comparing the two. Sorry guys, I tried my best, but my autistic shadow can only take so much before it goes berserk. When I looked up reviews at the time this came out, I never encountered anyone mentioning how different these two games are. Besides Donkey, but he never really steps in the realms of review, so it doesn't count. I don't even think there was even one bad review about this game from what I remember, which was a bit of a surprise. I am aware, I said before, that criticizing Final Fantasy XVI for not being like the older titles doesn't really feel fair to me. And that is only because Square experiments with this franchise varied quite a lot, and which is why most main Final Fantasy titles over the years are so different from one another. VII Remake, however, is a different story. There were a lot of preconceived expectations of having a similar or at least somewhat similar immersive experience as I did with the original, since this was supposed to be a remake, but I was left quite speechless that the game hit an entirely different ballpark. One that left me in a very stubborn emotional state since this entry was released. 85 to 90% of this game, which includes the characters, the story, the soundtrack, and even the level design, despite having similarities to the original, felt completely alien to me in this remake. I also have to mention that I don't consider Crisis Core, Advent Children, or even Dirge of Cerberus as part of the Final Fantasy VII world, because they offer such an incomparable experience from the original. Even though Dirge of Cerberus gets a bit closer in terms of immersion, I still don't think like it has any place in this universe. I hope you guys don't get the feeling I'm trying to convey that the original is highly superior and I am infuriated by every nook and cranny that doesn't look the same. But in a more, this feels like such a completely different world with characters that I'm not familiar with at all, kind of way, which was very unpleasant in the beginning. In the PS1 title, the story events had subtleties, the characters were a bit more layered. Even though in the remake they get a lot more screen time, it's not the same. The right piece of music came on the right time and so on. The cinematic direction was incredibly well done, and it felt like it had a real purpose. Okay, imagine a game from 1997, characters without any voice acting, having so much more chemistry among them due to the writing alone just being more grounded and cooler. Barrett's personality was completely different and much more enjoyable in the original, even Cloud and Tifa's to some extent. You guys think I might be a delusional prick for stating this, but I can safely say that I enjoyed the interaction with the NPCs here in the original more than most of the interaction between the main characters in the remake. I replayed the PS1 title until the party gets out of Midgard and everything felt so much more impactful. This might sound a bit embarrassing, but I actually teared up for a bit during the scene where Elmira, Aerith's adoptive mom, was waiting for her husband. Despite the incredible step in graphics and technology, in the remake none of these scenes came even close to have such an impact on me. Even the deaths of your comrades felt like it had more weight and substance to the narrative here. The game altogether had a really nice flow when it switched between serious moments to goofy and unimportant. All of this, combined with an incredible soundtrack, made the game as a whole have its own unique kind of flavor. The immersion here is on a completely different level compared to the experience I had when playing Intergrade. I think where my opinion differs than that of the old games fandom is that I didn't really care for a reimagining that is one-to-one. The problem is not that this game is 5 to 6 hours stretched to 20-25. It's not that the most character interaction and story events are incredibly cringy sometimes and dull for the most part, and were changed so much from the PS1 title to the point it makes no fucking sense. It's not that Sephiroth cut the gaze after he fell into Mako, which metamorphed him into a homosexual psychic. It's not that some of the music tracks have no place here, which kinda ruined the immersion. Some of the bloat, I find it quite enjoyable, like the Colosseum and Aerith having more dialogue, but everything else was downright boring or underwhelming because of its execution. It's the way how everything was handled that I find problematic. In the original, the pacing had higher quality because of the epic plot that carries the player from one intense event to another with barely any room to breathe, which constantly kept me on my toes and with my eyes peeled to the screen. In this game, you get this.
Seen Tifa around?
Tifa? My love? My light? Who are you and how do you know her? No, shut up. I don't care. Tifa's here? Why? Tell me why! Oh god, no. I did this to her, didn't I? She came looking for me to beg me not to leave her. Snap out of it, Johnny. Your Tifa needs you. Tifa, I'm coming, baby!
Another major factor that tickled the cynic in me, which is connected to the point I just made, is that this remake reeks so much of Kingdom Hearts. And we all know who is the scapegoat for that. Okay, I kinda don't want to give out the impression that I'm shitting on this game, saying it's absolute canis lupus excrementum, because I can see how much work and effort was put into making it. I just want to reiterate and accentuate how misguided big parts of the direction feels as a fan of the original. Another thing I have to add is that from what I've seen on the internet, not many people who also played the original have this opinion, so I might actually be in a small minority of fans that have these kinds of takes, though I'm not completely sure about this. On the positive side, I find the graphics on the PS5 and the gameplay to be very enjoyable, even though I personally have some critical issues with the latter, and these got a bit worse when I played it in hard mode, which I did so I could get the platinum. But the other reasons why I started the second playthrough was to also experience the English voice acting, and was curious how much the gameplay could peak in this mode, because I thought it was quite incredible and was craving more of it. To my disappointment, my second run on hard mode was quite frustrating because for me, Square Enix failed to take the awesome combat system they created to a new height, but instead it feels like this difficulty was done in a cheap and lazy way. This, along with some of the unfair mechanics in the gameplay at a higher difficulty, sometimes was a real joy killer. Somebody said in a review that the people who designed the combat are psychopaths, and to be honest, I cannot seem to disagree with his take. Some of the problems I had with it though were my own fault because I was also a bit lazy and did not experiment enough with the material I had in my arsenal. Some were because of the restrictive nature of how the developers want you to handle certain boss fights, and some of them because of how deeply unfair some of the gameplay mechanics are. Holy shit!
Let's make it a night to remember.
It's on for real now?
Yeah, you should be honored. Okay. Stick around.
Second wind.
Whoever's decision was to make dodge in this game function like this should have his soul sent to the purgatory where he is trapped for the infinity, with Satan running, trying to buttfuck the gameplay designer while dodging his attempts to no avail in the same unfair way as it was done in this remake. Okay, sorry about that. I don't think anyone deserves to be raped by the devil until the end of times. Unless you're into that stuff.
Wait a minute. Do you just want somebody to...
Not to mention the most blasphemous thing I have ever encountered in an RPG, especially in a JRPG. You are not allowed to use any items throughout the hard mode playthrough. Any items whatsoever. You can only recover MP by smashing crates or when you start a new chapter, but not during normal encounters with monsters or boss fights. This is so incredibly uncool coming from a game with such a good combat system. Why, Square Enix? Why? Why did you do this? But even after saying all of this, I still think the gameplay is top tier and would even go as far as to say revolutionary. You only have 4 characters to choose from by the end of the game, but because everyone is so unique and diverse in their abilities, I was starting to have trouble deciding my party even with this limited number of them due to everyone being so much fun to play as, which led to some extremely fun and interesting gameplay combinations, making me never to be bored by the combat. This is also the very first time I ever questioned the music choices in an RPG. There are some new tracks that are good, all ones that are remixed. It's just that some of them don't match at all the kind of place you are exploring with what you're doing throughout the levels. Since immersion is one of the main things I'm more interested in when playing a game, if you're one of the people that are also looking forward to this kind of thing, you might end up very disappointed by this, especially towards the end of the game. And that is not to say that this game is not immersive by any means. There are a few tracks in some areas that hit the nail. It's just a bit of a shame that there's only a few of these instances. The best way I could judge this game on its own would be to say that it is a disconnected mess. The world building and the lore from the original is also present in this game, like the ancients, Hojo's genetic experiments, which kind of hints that a wide variety of the laws of physics that govern that universe is somewhat similar to ours, and even some certain cultural and societal themes like Tifa competing against a trans man in a pull-up challenge. All of this is supposed to facilitate our understanding of the world in the game by making it slightly familiar with our own and in turn offering more of an immersive experience. All of that is rendered almost entirely useless because anything can happen here and there's not even a lame explanation or at least a few crumbs of hints of information left for us to pick up in order to understand as to why and how some of the important events take place. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. How is Sephiroth able to appear like that and do whatever, whenever he wants? The same goes for the Whisperers.
Children. The world won't end today. But you. You will.
Listen. destiny comes.
We drag our asses all this way. This is the welcome we get.
I don't really mind them trying to change fate, which completely changed the plot of the original game on the PS1, but the way they did it here, it was so Kingdom Heartsy levels of ridiculous. It's just crazy to me. Where do the Whisperers draw their power from that allow them to have this kind of knowledge and perform all this crap? This might be explained in Rebirth or in the third part, but it's done here in such an incredible lazy way that it's very hard to forgive the director or whoever was behind this. The script writers feels like they are treating the players like they might be idiots here, and no matter how much they could try to compensate for this with the graphics and the fan service, I cannot express enough how flat and boring most of the story and the characters turned out for me. In this game, absolutely anything goes. The biggest consequence of this was that the last few battles and the cutscenes that followed in the final chapter didn't feel epic at all. The ending is the most disappointing part of the whole thing. Not only it extremely diminishes the impact of the original story, the narrative route they chose here to lead the player into it is done so atrociously in my opinion. Nothing made any sense, and a huge chunk of the latest chapters has written Nomura all over it. And because of this, I just couldn't take this game seriously, and only ended up being just a fun ride instead of the incredible epic tale that could have been. I apologize for asking this, sir, but are you sure it is safe to radically change the story like this? Won't the fans of the original get angry? Don't worry about it. As soon as they'll see Tifa's analog sticks in 4K, they'll forget. I apologize again for being persistent, sir, but are you really sure about this? You made some significant changes to the whole plot, and to be frank, a lot of it doesn't make any sense. Do you even know who I am? This guy. Another area in which this game feels disconnected is whoever directed these voice actings didn't do a good job all the way through. And I'm saying that even though I think the English voice acting is better in some parts of the game, when characters speak, it feels like they don't mean what they say, and at other times when they interact, each actor is interpreting what the lines should sound like from the script without any responsive emotion from the others. For example, if someone is talking in an aggressive, animated or an overtly emotional way, the person on the other side of the conversation might respond in a flat or monotone way that feels off, and it doesn't feel like he or she is taking into account at all the meaning or the tone of the other character that the conversation is bouncing off of. This doesn't happen 100% of the time, however, but when it does, it makes the game to be so off-putting and boring to the point where I can't take it seriously and start to zone out during key events in the story. Some of the scenes, like the ones with the people who work for Shinra, are done a lot better though with the Japanese voice acting.
わし見たんだ。廊下を歩いているのをしっかりとこの目で。不確かな情報をばらまくな。いや、こう目の前を通っていって。びっくりしすぎてちょっと痩せたんだから。ねえ、侵入者に関してはうちで対処している。でもプレジデント、わし本当に。北条博士、検査結果は予想通りだ。純血種だった母親より数値は下がるが、古代種と呼んでも差し支えないだろう。約束の地はいつ頃わかる？その件で提案がある。自発的な協力を強制的に引き出す方法を試してみないか。大事な古代種だ。壊さないように最大限の注意を払う。拷問なら私に任せて。戦場仕込みでよければ俺も手伝おう。肉体よりも精神的に痛めつけるやり方が
私は好きでね。うひょ。
And not until I played some of the chapters in this game a third time with the English subtitles, I noticed how off the localization is sometimes. I understand that part of this area is to translate sentences in such a way that will make more sense culturally, but oftentimes the direction is so extremely different than that of its Japanese counterpart, it is a bit insane to me.
こんにちは、ティファ。こんにちは。
話は後だ。今すぐ出るぞ。
え？
ここは危険だ。
姉ちゃん本気だな。仕方ねえから教えてやるよ。
Most of the story and the characters didn't really click with me like it did with a lot of other people, unfortunately, but that's not to say I necessarily hated them either. The graphics are gorgeous, and for me the most unique and best thing about this game is the combat system. Some of the parts in the story I was very bored by and couldn't wait to get through them faster, and everything else is just average, or on a rare occasion slightly above. And that's mostly because of how the ideas behind the concepts are executed. My experience with this character, this narrative and the cinematic direction felt so downright agonizing to the point I forget this is actually a serious game and not a parody of the original Final Fantasy VII.
You seek my approval.
I understand.
But those who crave my favor must first prove that they know how to move.
This is the best I can summarize my experience with this title. As far as the DLC intermission goes, I enjoyed it a bit more than the main game. But like I said before, a lot of those plot lines and villains I feel like have no place in this universe.
There are no teams in deep ground.
A birdie told me that Rebirth did a far better job with the plot, and I'm actually kind of excited in playing it. That's it for today. If you guys want to suggest on what game my next video should be on, leave your suggestion below so I can ignore them. I'm not getting paid a cent for all this work I'm doing, and so I will be the one deciding what my videos should be on. If you guys would like to change that, consider donating to my Patreon. And if you can't, liking, sharing and subscribing is more than enough. This way I might slowly turn into a whore for you guys, which would make me contemplate on taking future suggestions for my content. Until next time, don't forget to stay hydrated and eat healthy.